Hello friends and welcome back. Now in this video we are going to create a bullet. So in the previous video we created this health bar and we added a script called health player health, which is empty script, and we are going to code it later. But first let's create a bullet for our player. So I have a sprite for bullet. You can download any sprite from Google, or simply go to 2D and create a sprite. So I'm going to use that. So let's drag it into the hierarchy. Now it is too big, so I'm going to scale it down. So let's scale it, and I'm going to rename it to bullet. Now on that bullet we are going to have a box collider. So box collider. Hello friends and welcome to my YouTube channel. So before proceeding to the video, I just want you guys to know about my multiplayer course. So I have created a multiplayer course with over 40 plus lectures, and you can see that it's more than 6 hours of lectures on multiplayer game development using Photon 2, which is the latest version in 2019. Slider 2D, and let's see. And now we are going to have a spawn point for our bullet. So in the player, so first of all make this collider like that, and in the player we are going to create a new empty game object, and let's position it at the end of the gun, and let's call it bullet spawn, and hit apply to make changes in the prefab. Now on the bullet we are going to create a new script. So in my scripts folder I am going to create a C# script and call it bullet. Now let's drag this script onto our bullet. So wait for it to compile. And we are going to drag and drop it. Now after that, in your resources folder, drag this bullet and make it a prefab, and let's open our bullet script. So here is our bullet script. So let's define the speed of bullet first. So I'm going to say public float speed, and speed is going to be, let's say, maybe 10. And after some time our bullet is going to be destroyed, so let's define that. So public float destroy time. Destroy time is going to be 2 seconds, so 2f. And to destroy the bullet we are going to use the coroutine. So let's define that. So I enumerator destroy bullet, and in here we are going to say yield return new wait for seconds, and wait for seconds is going to be our destroy time, and after that we are going to destroy the bullet. So let's say destroy and this dot game object. Now we are going to call this coroutine in a start function. So whenever our bullet is going to be instantiated, it is going to wait for 2 seconds and then destroy the bullet. So in here we are going to say start coroutine, and the coroutine is going to be destroy bullet. Now in the update we are going to move our bullet, so we are going to say transform dot translate, and it is going to take vector 3. So we are going to say vector 3 dot forward, and the speed is going to be time dot delta time into our speed, and in here let's put false. Well, actually ignore that, and that's it. So but right now you can see that we are destroying the bullet right here, and we are calling the coroutine right here. So this is only going to destroy the bullet on our local instance. So the player who is firing, only the bullet is going to be destroyed at his instance. Now instead what we are going to do is, well, actually what we are going to do is we are going to remove that code, and instead we are going to create an RPC to destroy the bullets. So I am going to inherit this class from mono behavior pun, and I am going to import using photon dot pun, and in here we are going to define, let's say, pun RPC, and this RPC is going to be void, it's going to be public void destroy, and in here we are going to simply say destroy with a capital D this dot game object, and we are not going to call it in the start, so let's remove that. Now one other thing that we need to consider is, so right now if you can see that our player is moving towards a right side, but if we flip our X, so sorry, it was not the bullet but our player. So if we flip, our player is then going to move towards a right side, and now our bullet should move towards left side, but in our code you can see that we are only moving it towards a right side. So for that we are going to create a new well, we did another mistake here, so let's change this. So we were using vector 3 dot forward, so actually forward is the Z direction. Since our game is 2D, so we are going to use vector 2 dot right and vector 2 dot left. So here is our shoot left variable. This variable is going to be false by default, so when it is false we are going to translate our bullet towards the right side, and if it is true then we are going to shoot our bullet towards the left side, and we are going to change this shoot left. So if on the basis of our player, so if our player is facing towards the right side, this is going to be false, and if our player is facing towards the left side, we are going to change this variable to. Now let's create another RPC to change this variable. So I am going to write here, say pun RPC and public void change direction, and in here we are going to set it to true. So this is going to be true. So we are going to call this RPC from our player script. So if player is facing towards left, only then we are going to call this RPC. And one other thing here is, so we are using the RPCs in our bullet script. So actually, to call these RPCs, we need a Photon View. So we are going to add a Photon View to our bullet. The reason is because the bullet is going to be instantiated over the network. So to instantiate an object over the network, that object must have a Photon View. So we are going to simply add a Photon View on our bullet and make sure to hit apply. Now let's go back. Now our RPCs are complete. So let's see what we can do in our player. So in the my player, we are going to create a new function for shooting. So first let's do the input dot get key. So if input dot get key down, and the key code is going to be, so key code dot, I am going to say left control, or yes, left control. So whenever user presses the left control, we are going to shoot. But before that, let's go back to the bullet script, and in the destroy bullet coroutine, we are destroying it by this, which is going to be on the local. So instead we are going to use the RPC that we created right here. So you know that to call the RPC, that object must have a Photon View. So this is the reason we added a Photon View on our bullet. So we are going to take reference of the Photon View by using this dot get component, and the component is going to be our Photon View dot RPC, and we're going to call the RPC, the name and the target is going to be RPC target dot all buffered. So you know that the all buffered is going to send the RPC to everyone else and executes it immediately on this client. New players get the RPC when they join. So we are going to do that, and in here we are going to put the name of this destroy RPC. So by that, so now let's go back to our player script and let's write the shoot function. So in here I am going to write public void shoot, and in the shoot function what we are going to do, we are going to instantiate our bullet. So I am going to store that so in a bullet game object for now, and we are going to use Photon network. So Photon network dot instantiate. So the reason we are using a Photon network dot instantiate instead of normal instantiate, because we are going to instantiate that bullet on a network. So That's why we are using photon network dot instantiate, and this is going to take how many? 3 arguments. One, the number one is going to be the prefab name, so for that we are going to need to have a prefab. So let's comment it out, and on the top, maybe right here, we are going to create public game object, and we are going to say bullet prefab, and we are also going to need a spawn point. So for that we are going to say public transform bullet spawn. Now let's copy that, and in our shoot function let's uncomment it, and for the name we are going to put bullet prefab dot name, so whatever our prefab has name. And the second thing is going to be our vector3 dot position, so we are going to put the position from our bullet spawn point right here dot, so it is actually a transform, so let me see. Yeah, now we are going to say bullet spawn dot position, and for rotation we are going to put quaternion dot identity. Now remember, in our bullet script we created this variable, so where is it, shoot left. So if our player is moving towards left, this is going to be true, so we are going to check that in here. So before our shooting, after instantiating the bullet, we are going to check whether the bullet should move towards left or right. So what we are going to do is we are going to check if our player is facing towards left side, so we can check it by using our sprite renderer. So we have already taken the reference of our sprite renderer, so we are going to say if sprite renderer dot flip x is equals to true. So what that means is, so let me go back to the editor, and on player you can see that flip x is false. So now when it is true, so if you check it, the player is, you will see, move face towards right. So if it is true, it means we are facing left. So if that is true, we are going to call the pun rpc. So let's go back to our bullets. So this rpc we are going to call, so we know that to call the rpc we need a photon view reference of that object. So we are going to actually copy that, and in here we are first going to get the photon view reference. So bullet dot get component, and the component is going to be photon view and dot rpc, and rpc, the rpc we are going to call is change direction, and the target is going to be rpc target dot all buffered, so everyone should receive that. Now that's good. Now let's call the shoot function in here. So I am going to call shoot on our left control. Now let's save the script and go back to our editor, and we are going to assign the references. So on our player, let's see, in the my player we have these two. So let's go to our resources and make sure to hit apply on our bullet first, and we are going to drag the bullet from our resources folder. So drag it right here, and the bullet spawn is going to be this. Now let's go back to our bullet, and now one other thing we are going to do is we are going to set the collider size. So let's disable the environment so we can see the collider better. So I am going to resize the collider a bit like that, and hit apply to our bullet, and then delete it from our hierarchy. Same, hit apply to our player and remove it from the hierarchy, and let's enable the environment back. So now I'm going to run this game. So I have built the game. You can now see the two different instances. So on this instance, so if I move, you can see that we are player 2, and on this instance we have our player 1. So now let's do the shooting on player 1. So if I press the left control, you will see that both of the player 1s are shooting on both of the instances. Now the same thing can be done on player 2 instances, but let's see what happens. So now there are a lot of problems right now. The functionality is not fully completed. So you can see we shot our player, and the bullet should be destroyed when it hits the player, and its health should be decreased. But we are going to do all of the stuff and fix some problems. So we have another problem. So on here, so if I move toward left, now if I press control, you will see that the bullet is taking the player away. So these problems are going to be fixed in the next video, and that's it for this video, and I will see you in the next video.